Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Transmissions from the Outpost here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. This is our show where we just kind of throw up reviews of interesting new films that we happen to see. Sometimes it's a group of us, sometimes it's one of us. Today it's just one of us, and that us would be me. I checked out the new Predator film, Predator Killer of Killers, last night, but I want to give my thoughts on this film because I think it's absolutely worth checking out. Um, Killer of Killers is an animated Predator film, which already is just kind of an interesting concept. It was directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who did Prey, and I think this was also co-directed by a guy named Joshua Wasung, who his IMDb says he does a lot of visual effects work. And basically, the story of this is you sort of go through different parts of history as different predators, hunt different sort of, they call them the killer of killers, right? The predators are out there trying to find the most, badass humans that kill the most people so that they can sort of test their hunting ability, and their ability to, they only want to go up against the best. So you technically have four short films in this. The first one, I believe, is called The Shield, and it involves like these Vikings. There's a like a Viking queen, and her son are, crossing the ocean to go raid some village because this Viking queen is trying to take revenge on the death of her father many years ago. And in the course of, finding this guy who killed her dad, a predator shows up, and the predator begins hunting her. Now this Viking queen is like, in this film, is the most badass character in it. I mean, there's this amazing kind of one take shot. It's all in animation, but it's like kind of one take as you follow her. She lands at, or she, comes to this sort of like village and just lays waste to dozens and dozens of Vikings in these brutal, horrible, awful ways. And I will say the film is very gory, so they do not cheap out on the gore aspect of this. You see heads lopped off, body parts exploding and stuff. Like, this is a very gory animated film, which is what I appreciated about it. But ultimately, she encounters a predator who is trying to hunt her, and then it's sort of a battle of wits. I will say that I think of all of the short films in this one was probably my favorite because I think it was the most beautifully done of all of them. And that's saying something because they all look amazing. But this one, the Viking Queen kind of has this fight under like an ice covered lake, and it with the predator, and it's really cool. And the predator here is just, um it's one of those predators where they're not trying to really hide or anything. He's just like I'm just brute force. Predator's like 8 feet tall and built like a Mack truck, and he just goes around smashing and destroying Vikings. And then what's kind of cool about it is all of these short films have a different aspect to the predator. Like the predator that we know and love, has a whole bunch of different weapons, but this film introduces all kinds of new interesting weapons that the predators use. And in this for this particular predator, I'll just call him the Viking predator, I guess. Um, one of his hands has been lopped off, so I would imagine, in my sort of head canon, that he had some sort of encounter with another alien creature somewhere along the line, had his arm cut off or chopped off or something, but he has created a new weapon for it. Like, he's kind of built a weapon that goes into the hand or the arm with the missing hand, and it's kind of like this. I don't know, like this wave sort of that shoots out and destroys buildings and stuff like that. Super cool. Like I said, the animation in this first one was just gorgeous. The blues of the ocean and everything like that. And I should point out that there are going to be spoilers in this review. It's kind of hard to really spoil this because it's just It's essentially the same things you've seen before in terms of it's a human going up against a predator and trying to survive and fight a predator. But there are a couple spoilers here and there. This ends with the first sort of short film ends. It's about 25 minutes long. The whole film is an hour and 25 minutes with credits, so it's not a super long movie. But the first sort of story ends, and you kind of see that the Viking Queen has survived, and she's got kind of like what you find come to find out is like a bomb collar on, and she's in some sort of prison. And then you see there's another dude, and it segues into that story, which is the second one, which I think is called the Sword. So the first one was the Shield, the second one's called the Sword, and this involves two brothers. You see two brothers as they're kind of growing up in feudal Japan, and I think this entire short, almost all of it is a silent film. Like there's barely any talk or talking in this short at all. But one of the brothers doesn't want to fight the other, but the dad is just kind of like, if you want to take over, you two are going to have to fight each other. So he pits the two kids up against each other. One of them refuses to fight. The other one decides to fight, ends up slicing the brother's face who didn't want to fight, and that causes the brother to run away. And then you fast forward 20 years, and that brother that ran away is now a ninja, and he is coming back to take his revenge on his brother, who is now kind of taken over. I think the dad dies, and the brother who stayed is now, I guess, a feudal lord or whatever you would call those individuals back in feudal Japan. And so you have these two brothers fighting with this just beautiful, you know, ninja choreography, and just your classic, the building and architecture and stuff, and it's at night with the moon, and you see the ninjas running around, and they're all being chopped up and brutalized in bloody ways. Well, in the midst of all of this fighting, that's when a new predator is around, and then these two brothers kind of have to team up in a way to try to take down this new predator that has showed up. Again, gorgeous. The artwork here, it's like a painting. I will say that I was taken aback a little bit when I first started watching it, because it has that, I don't know what the exact definition, what you would call it, but it's that kind of art style where it's not smooth. It looks like there's like a kind of like a choppy frame rate to it. So when I first started watching it, I didn't really like that aspect of it, but as I watched it, I completely forgot about it, and you just completely get used to the that kind of choppy style. But I will say, it's like every frame of this movie looks like a painting you'd want to put up on your wall. I mean, it literally looks like a painting, and I've seen comparisons to Arcane on Netflix. I have not seen that show, so I don't exactly know if that's an apt comparison or not. But just so many beautiful images, and how these things are all sort of framed and shot. Super, super cool. This predator obviously is very different than the predator that was attacking like the Viking. And as you could probably tell, like, well, now we're in feudal Japan. So one of the brothers survives, and then we kind of segue and we see that he's also got a bomb collar on him, and he's in the same room as the Viking Queen. And then we transition into the third story, which takes place, I think it's in World War II, either World War One, World War II, and it is an individual who basically his dad kind of helps him constantly. Like you see at the opening, his car breaks down, and like his engine's flooded, and he doesn't know how to fix it. His dad's like, "Look, man, you just got drafted into the military. You're gonna have to figure this stuff out yourself." And then it sort of fast forwards. This one's called The Bullet, and then it sort of fast forwards to this guy, and he is in the military now. And long story short, there's like a squadron of fighter jets, and they are being sort of picked off one by one by a predator who's also flying his own version of a fighter jet, whatever, in the skies above World War II. And then this kid has to get in this janky old World War II fighter and try to not only protect his squad mates but also take down the predator. This was also super super cool. It was just so novel to be able to see a story in which a predator is not just running around shooting people with his laser cannon or hunting them in the normal way. This was cool that it was a predator flying a plane. It reminded me of that Battlestar Galactica episode where Starbuck has to go up against, I think it's Scar or whatever, where it's the one Cylon in their like little flying fleet that seems to have a mind of his own and can actually kill the humans. And so this predator, he's got like one eye, and he's just. I think he's in the plane the entire time. I don't think he ever gets out. So it's an air battle with a predator. And I was like, this is so cool. And again, the art style and everything, it looks so beautiful. What I will say about this one is this is one, like, all of them kind of belie belief, right? Like, the thing about Predator, which I think we all agree, like, the Predator as a concept is just a really really cool concept. um the thing about this is they do a few things that go a little too wacky in my opinion. Like, there's this one point where like, I don't know if it's the bomb or something on the kid's plane is on fire, and he literally gets out of his plane, and the plane is like spinning around, and he's holding on to it with a wrench and stuff like that. I was like, okay, this is almost a little too goofy in places, took me out of it a little bit in spots. However, the overall package of what's going on is just so cool. It's like I can get over that. I mean, that's such a minor gripe. If this were a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie, I wouldn't think twice about it because I know Tom Cruise would probably do something crazy like that. However, in this, it just felt a little weird, especially since this kid kind of established as a bit of a bumbling buffoon. A little bit. I know the part of his story is the growth of who he becomes and stuff like that. But yeah, this was a really really cool short film. Again, all three of these were really awesome. And then I thought the film was over, and it turns out it's not over. So then we reveal that this kid is also in the sort of like prison cell with the ninja and with the Viking queen, and they all have the bomb collars on. And then we roll into our fourth story, which I don't know. I don't remember if they actually named this fourth story or not. I can't remember. Um, but that turns out that the predators, because obviously these are all from different time periods in human history. It's like, how are all these people on, uh, how are they all together in this prison cell? Well, they get transferred to this, basically, I guess, predator homeworld, into this big arena. And what's really cool about this is when the door opens to the prison cell, there's a whole bunch of predators lining each side. And I love how they all sort of like they get down on their knee and like they bow to all three of these humans that were successfully able to kill all of these different predators. So they all walk into the arena, and then you see this, I guess, king predator, probably the one with the most respect. He's got all kinds of crazy like trophies and bones hanging off of him and things of that nature, and he wants all three of these humans to fight each other, and then this king predator is going to fight the winner. So obviously, the kid doesn't want to fight anybody. The ninja doesn't want to fight anybody, but the Viking Queen, who wants to get back to her dead kid. I forgot to mention that the predator does end up killing her kid, which causes her to go into her like berserker rage. She's trying to kill both of them so that she can take vengeance on her dead son with the king predator. And of course, everybody speaks a different language, Japanese, and I guess I don't know exactly what language Vikings spoke. The Viking language, and then Spanish, and so they're all trying to communicate with each other. Um, One thing I didn't care a lot for on this one is at a certain point the king predator opens up, because they're not really fighting. He opens up, uh, I guess, like a door in this gigantic monster comes out. And so then they have to fight this monster and kind of learn to work together before they can do that. I would have just liked them to have come to, with fighting themselves, coming to that realization, rather than, here's a obligatory monster that they're going to have to fight. It also felt a little off brand for the predators, like the species. Like, I just saw predators like kneeling and bowing before these people, and then you're gonna throw some gigantic monster at them that they've like never ever seen, and in order to try to get them to sort of like fight. It didn't feel fair. Which, to be fair, is probably not really the not really a thing with Predator, because honestly, with the amount of tech that Predators have, going up against any humans, it's not quote unquote fair ever, I suppose. But that's what makes like the killers in the Predator franchise so great, right? Because they are able to overcome all this technology that the Predators have, and that's why the Predators give them respect. And so eventually they sort of come together, and then they have to fight the King Predator and escape the Predator homeworld. And I won't spoil sort of how that all goes down, but ultimately, um, that's kind of where it ends. That's the fourth story of them trying to wrap up all of that. And then there's a little stinger, I guess, right after it ends, where we actually see what has happened to the girl from Prey, which Dan Trachtenberg directed a couple years ago. What happened to her, and what it turns out, spoiler alert, why how all these people are together is the predators basically capture people once they've defeated a predator, and then they like cryo freeze them. And so the predators are walking around on this ship, and they just have all kinds of presumably human beings and other creatures that have defeated a predator, kind of like frozen, and then they unfreeze them and then pit them against each other so that the predators, the highest tier predators, could then go up against them, which I thought was a cool concept. I mean, we've seen cryo sleep and stuff in the Aliens franchise, and if humans have that technology, why wouldn't the Predators have that as well? So I thought that was a really really cool thing. And then you see what actually happens to the girl at the end of Prey, and she's in one of these cryo chambers. That's like the last shot that you get. So yeah, that's Predator: Killer of Killers. It is currently on Hulu. This thing was awesome, man. Like, I was sitting here just watching this, and I was like, every one of these is great. Now, I think that the first one, the Viking one, was the best. It takes a little bit to start. Like, the predator doesn't show up right away. There's a whole sort of sequence where you're getting a backstory of the Viking Queen and all that. And at one point, I was like, "Where's the predator? Like, well, how are we going to get the predator involved in all this?" But you need that for what happens at the end. So the Viking Queen becomes a very important player in the very last story, and you need that background and setup at in the first story in order to make her arc kind of pay off at the very end. So, yeah, it's stunning to look at. All of the stories are cool. The Predators have new technology, new unique designs to them. It expands kind of like the lore of the Predator, the Yautja. It expands all of that, which is really cool. It doesn't. Each story does not seem to, it doesn't drag on and on and on, and just the way that they stage kind of like the action and what's going on, so much cooler in an animated form than in a live action. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the live action Predator movies. Part two, Predator 2, hot take, is better than the first Predator. I'm just saying it. I'm not saying the first Predator is horrible. I love the first Predator. It's S tier, but Predator 2 is better. And Prey, of course, was fantastic as well. And so getting to see like these, aliens in sort of like a very stylistic way go about. I mean, there's so many shots in this that just wouldn't look good unless you had like a $200 million budget. But they look gorgeous and awesome in an animated form. So I hope they continue doing this kind of stuff. I'd love to see something like this with the Alien franchise. I know that Noah Hawley is doing Alien Earth. Maybe I'll have a trailer reaction for that. But man, this was cool. I would absolutely go check this out. Watch this, support it, because this is the kind of stuff we'd like more of. I don't know how much they spent on this, but I would absolutely love to see another film like this. Like, give me ancient Rome or something like that. There's so many different things that they could do in terms of putting a predator in a unique setting. Okay, here's one critique I'm gonna have, and this I was trying to think about this, and this might be the Predator franchise as a whole. Can we get the Predators winning in something? Like, I get like the story that they're telling about these three individuals taking down all of these different predators. Great, but I want the predator to win, like definitively beat a human. Like, give me like a really amazing, give me like a Dutch level human, um, and then you think that the human's going to win, and then the predator wins, and then the predator skins them, puts that trophy up on the wall. I would love to see something like that, because I think that if I have any critique of just the predator stuff in general, it is that they are these amazing hunters, and yeah, they can take down some Los Angeles police detectives, and they can take down some special ops team in the jungle who with their super tech and whatnot. But there's always the human that ends up beating them, like, always. And most of the characters in these predator movies are just kind of like cannon fodder. So they're not your upper tier great human killers. But I want to see a predator like lose, or I'm sorry, I want to see a predator win. I just really want to see a predator win one of these, and the end shot is the predator defeating the human, and then getting celebrated by the rest of his tribe, or whatever like that. I'd like to see something like that, but maybe we'll get that in a second one. So overall, if I had to give a letter grade to Predator Killer of Killers, I'm going to give this an A. The only reason I wouldn't give it an A plus is because there's just a few minor gripes that I would have. They're just nitpicky type stuff, but A plus to me is like perfect. And I wouldn't say this is absolute perfect, but it's as close to perfect as you can get, without caring. So yeah, an A for Predator Killer Killers. Go watch this, go support it, and let's keep Disney making more of these, please. Thank you, Thank you, Dan Trachtenberg. Excellent film. Until next time, we'll see you on Transmissions from the Outpost. Hit that like and subscribe, folks, if you'd like to see more reviews. Goodbye.